What's that?
It's a £40,000 camera. Must be better than everything.
Are you saying it's better than my Canon C100 Mark II?
Maybe.
Starting with this shot of the street, the most obvious difference is the amount of detail in the shot. This isn't surprising, as whilst the C100 Mark II is doing a very good job of downsampling its 4K sensor, the file is still only 1080p. The Alexa, shooting in 3.2K, is always going to have more detail. You may also notice the way the two cameras handle colour. The Alexa has a slight blue-green tint in the shadows. It might be less realistic, however it does look really nice and is one of the factors that helps it achieve its legendary colour science. Interestingly, we can see the C100 has favoured the red hues in the image. The red on the C8 has a lot more luminance than in the Alexa footage. For this comparison, the footage has had basic corrections only, no secondaries to fix problem areas. This is very apparent when we look at the blue Skoda and the red taillights. They are oversaturated on the C100 Mark II, but not on the Alexa. This exterior shot with the C100 doesn't look too bad. Lots of green shades in the image, however, switching over to the Alexa, we can see the result of the colour science which gives the ARRI such a pleasing image. It's not necessarily more realistic than the Canon's image, but it has richer greens and an overall warmer tint to the image. I felt like a bit of an NPC character at this point, so I decided to try and impersonate one. It's no worse than some of the GTA 5 characters. Besides the difference in colour science and detail, the biggest difference I'm noticing is the dynamic range. In this shot, the Alexa has a little more detail in the shadows, however when we start cranking up the exposure on both cameras and then bringing back the levels in post, we can see how clean the Alexa's image is and how well it holds on to the highlights. It's worth bearing in mind that the Alexa is more of a narrative camera, and as a result it can't come close to matching the high ISOs of the C100 Mark II. Next up, we wanted to check out some more differences in colour science. This is a very extreme lighting setup, however this kind of shot can happen in productions. The C100 gives us a very rich, vibrant red. The Alexa, however, subdues the bright red, and looking at the vector scope, it's producing a much tighter band of colour. Interestingly, the blue backlight turns more cyan in the Alexa footage. I can definitely say that the C100 has captured the colour more accurately, but the Alexa is more about making colours look nice. In this shot with the blue gel, we can see the limitation of the C100's internal codec if we look at my jumper. However, this could be vastly improved by using an external recorder like an Atomos Ninja Inferno. We can also see where the blue channel has well and truly gone out of range, although this could be mitigated with secondary corrections. Finally, we look at some over and under exposure tests. No surprises here, the camera with more dynamic range and higher quality codec wins. Although the C100 didn't do a half bad job of holding onto the highlights considering its lesser dynamic range. Underexposure is a very different matter. The C100's image deteriorates much sooner than the Alexa's does. This is why I always recommend people err on the side of exposing to the right. The point of this test wasn't to find out which camera is best. Naturally, a £40,000 camera is going to give you some image quality upgrades over a £3,000 camera. I was more interested in seeing what the differences were. With some more colour grading, especially some secondary corrections, and an external recorder, you could get the C100 Mark II's footage much closer to the Alexa's. The extra detail with the Alexa was also nice, but to me, by far and away, the biggest noticeable characteristic is the extra dynamic range you're getting with the Alexa. This would be especially useful on a bright and sunny day. Not that we have very many of them here in England. Believe it or not, it's not like the Alexa Mini is better in every single way. Whilst we were filming these tests, we found that the C100 Mark II was much easier and quicker to use, and quicker to set up. This would be very useful if you didn't have a large crew, especially if you were a single operator. At the end of the day, the Alexa Mini is a high-end cinema camera with the price tag to match, so it makes sense that that's where its feature set lies.
Do you think our uni's gonna want that back?
Yeah.